are the criteria by which we will evaluate all these ideas. So right now we're just going to go ahead and start rolling, and after the presentation we're going to pass out the blank forms, and that's what we're here for tonight, is to get your ideas down on that form so they can be considered. And with that, we're just going to go ahead and get going. There's cookies and coffee and pop and water back there. Emergency exit, there's one behind you. There's one out here in the hallway to the back, and the restrooms are also down that hall, and also you can exit the way you came in. Don't fall asleep. This is quick, I hope. Alright, so this is actually our second workshop. We had one last week. I think we had, I didn't count, but I think there were between 40 and 50 people. And tonight we have 40 chairs set out, so about the same kind of crowd tonight. So thanks for coming out. I know it says spring on the calendar, but you just have to look out the window and know that things aren't always what they seem, right? Okay. So what the Natural Resource Damage Program is it's under Superfund. There's two parts to Superfund, and the first one is remediation. And the effort that we've seen up to date pretty much has been led by the Environmental Protection Agency, and the goal of remedy is to protect human health and the environment. And the other part of Superfund is restoration. And the federal government gave the states the authority to sue the responsible parties for damage to their natural resources. And that's why we're here tonight. And restoration's goal is to return that resource to baseline, the pre-injury condition. So if you walked into this valley in 1864 and had a look around, the goal of restoration is to try and get back to that condition. So that's why we're here tonight, and we're just going to give you a briefing on what this program is, and then ask you to fill out those forms. So the settlement that we're talking about tonight, and why we're here, it's called Butte Area 1, and this was a Montana sued ARCO, and in 2008 they came to an agreement, and that settlement was for just over $28 million, and that was put into a interest-bearing account. And now, at the end of last year, it was up to $32.2 million. And I joked at the last presentation that I want to get this person's name so they can manage my 401k, because that's a pretty good return in just over 3 years.
Madoff. I think his name's Madoff.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. We do have a map up here later on if you want to come look at it, but this is Butte Area 1. But I will throw it up here on the board so you can see the area we're talking about. Oops, wrong way. Okay, Butte Area 1 is outlined here in the red, and it basically starts at the concentrator, Farrell Street, Texas Avenue, and it's a path that follows the historic Silverbow Creek channel and goes down to here's Montana Street, here's Harrison Avenue, here's Blacktail Creek, and they join here right at George Street, go under Montana, and it goes through the Butte Reduction Works, and here is the old Colorado smelter. And where the creek exits under the I-90 bridge, that's about the extent of this area. Now, to be eligible for funds, it doesn't necessarily have to be within this dotted line, but we do have to make some connection. It has to protect the surface water or the groundwater within this area. So we'll get to that a little bit later on, but that's kind of our boundary. And this big yellow boundary that you see here, that's the Superfund boundary for Butte priority soils. So really, anything that can be connected to the area inside the red would be eligible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John McKee. John is a member of the Butte Natural Resource Damage Restoration Council, and he's going to tell you why he's here tonight.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, just real quickly, right in advance, we're not ARCO, we're not EPA, we're citizens, and we don't get paid, we're volunteers. We just did this because, like a lot of you, we saw a problem on the hill and we wanted to try to do what we can to help. So by all means, when you're thinking about what you're doing here today, we're going to go through a couple slides. We're going to talk about the boundary conditions and what we can do, but we absolutely do not want you to walk away from this without giving us an idea. And even if it didn't fall within that boundary of that map, you've got a concept. Get it on paper and get it to us. We don't want any idea to not get through the filter. We want to make sure we get a chance to look at everything, such that when it comes time to make a decision, we're making it with the most ideas and the most possible concepts in play. Yeah, we're all citizens. You've got Elizabeth Erickson, Larry Kern, Steve Gallis, Mark Gollinger, Ruth Lee, myself, Chad Oakrich, Emmett Reardon, and Helen O'Connor Joyce. And we were all brought together either by the governor or by Paul Babb to sit on this committee. And we've met monthly for about 2.5 years now. We've got a lot of sort of work underneath our belts and research underneath our belts. What we're here today about and last week, and even going forward up to the deadline of April 20th, is to bring these ideas in. So by all means, if you know of an idea out there, or someone who you know might have an idea, just because the meeting's over tonight doesn't mean don't tell them not to get a hold of us. Make sure they're bringing us ideas. Make sure that they're talking to us, because we want to make sure that we get out the message. We've got we've got $32 million. We want to do good things with it. I went over basically the members and who we are, how we came to be. And really, this is what we are. We are that voice. And I'm a loud one. There's softer voices, but we are that voice. And what we need to do, we feel we need to do anyway, is that we want to develop our plan. We develop basically our process plan, how we're going to do what we're going to do, i.e. these meetings now. And we got that approved back here in January, but what we would like to do is we'd like to take all your guys' comments, your concepts, your ideas, and hash that together into a final set of plans for review and for approval by the trustee. Ultimately, the trustee of all this money is not us, the trustee is the governor. And the governor's term ends in December of 2012. And so our goal is to try to do our best to find a good set of plans, well thought out, well conceived, and well developed, that we can put together and put onto his desk before December 12th, such that we can have a plan in motion. I mean, there's a very good chance that some of the concepts that people are bringing forward, there's no reason dirt couldn't be moving by next summer. This is not come and talk to us in 10 years something might happen. This is come and talk to us and we might be doing something as soon as a calendar year. Probably the best picture that's ever been taken is right there.
It's the only picture.
This exactly. But yeah, basically this is where I tap out. But again, you need to, even if it's not tonight, you know someone that has an idea, you need to get them to us. You need to get those ideas to us, because there's a lot of great things that could happen. But even, well, it was 28, but even 32 million is nothing. There's $300 million of projects left on the hill, and they're not ever going to get done. But with 32 million, we can do an awfully good job. We're only going to be able to pull that off if we get the ideas from everyone involved. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm tapping out at this point, and Greg's going to jump in and talk a little bit more in detail about what we got going. Oh, you're up. All right, I'm going to shut up. You're up. I would have talked. I would have talked. I don't know what I would have said.
Okay, folks, on each table we have one example form, and we'll put this up here at the end too, but we can look at the one on the table. But the one thing, you don't even have to put your name down. We just want your idea. If you feel comfortable putting your name down, we'd love to have your contact information if we need to have you talk with us and develop that concept some more. That'd be great. But what I would like to do now is just talk a little bit about the injury that occurred in Butte Area 1. This is what we call a weed map. Weed was a U.S. Geological Survey geologist, and he developed this map, and this is the 1903 edition. And it starts way up here on Silverbow Creek, and here's Harrison Avenue. Creek comes down, goes under Montana Street, and I didn't stretch the map out quite far enough, but here's Front Street. And on this stretch of Silverbow Creek, there were no fewer than 7 mills and smelters, and all of those mills and smelters put their waste into the creek. That was just the way they did it back then. And Here's the Parrot Smelter, one of the biggest producers, and on down right here is the Butte Reduction Works. This little black dot right there is the original city waterworks owned by William Clark. So this is the area we're talking about. Those were the players in doing the injury. This is a 1955 aerial photo of the same area. And we start up here. Here is the Civic Center. This is the area from the Parrot Smelter. And all the white areas are basically tailings. And the reason they show up so vivid in a black and white photo like this is that in tailings, there's enough heavy metals that it's toxic to plant life, so nothing grows on them. So all these white patches you see are tailings. The one good thing about the Berkeley pit is it took out all the tailings and all the waste from this point on up. But here's the Parrot tailings, and if you go on down this area here, this is Silver Bow Creek channel. This area here that's just to the east of KOA, that's what we call the Diggings East area. And if you go back to that previous slide, this was kind of a marshy area. So the creek actually kind of spread out, and when it's carrying any solids, those solids spread out in that area because it loses velocity. This area here that's on the north side of the creek channel is what we call the north side tailings. Pretty catchy name, huh? And then we go back under Montana Street. These are the tailings from the Butte Reduction Works, and these are the tailings from the Colorado smelter. And you can see already that even Blacktail Creek was channelized prior to the Interstate 90 coming through the valley, and same thing with Silver Bow Creek, it was already channelized. So that's the surface water injury. I mean, it's pretty evident. Everywhere you see white, there's pretty much damage. And the groundwater was also injured. Once you put those toxic substances on the surface, rainwater, the creek water, all drives that down into the groundwater. And this well, GS41, is right outside center field in the ball field that's behind the Civic Center. And we took a sample, Nick, was it August of 2009, I think, when we took this sample. These are the heavy metals across here, and this is the drinking water standard. So in order to be put in your pipe or your tap, all the metals have to be below this level. This is the Berkeley pit water, how they compare on the heavy metals, and this is well GS41. And you can see in almost every case, the water from this well actually has more toxins in it than the Berkeley pit water. And it actually is blue because of the copper that comes out of that's in the water. And I think Nick and I put a shovel in that water, went and got a pop down at town pump, came back, pulled the shovel out, and it was plated with copper. So, pretty rich solution. And if you go down to the other end of Butte Area 1, this trench was dug by Butte Silver Bow crews, and they were looking for a leak in one of their Vetro sewer lines. And you can see here, this is tailings, and also if you look at the water, it's the nice blue shade. So that's from one end of this area to the other, we have groundwater damage. And one thing that we do, you know, when we're talking about Butte Area 1 is this area here, but other materials outside of Butte Area 1 can easily affect the surface water in Butte Area 1. And for instance, when they went in and remedied the waste caps on the hill, there's over 420 acres that are capped, and any of this material can be picked up by rainwater or snow melt, and of course it all goes downhill right to Silver Bow Creek. So this is an example of something outside the area that directly affects the area. And probably the biggest problem we still have is exactly along Anaconda Road up by the Kelly Mine, and this actually reports to the Berkeley pit, but these are, this is material that's been picked up by runoff and goes down the channel, and originally this would have reported to Silver Bow Creek, so you can see how easy it is to, it doesn't take much heavy metal to wipe out a fish population. Back in the day, it's no wonder we had no fish in Silver Creek. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Greg Mullen. Greg is an environmental scientist with the Natural Resource Damage Program. He's out of the Helena office, and he's been with the program since it began. In what year, Greg?
91.
91. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's many good jobs, I stayed here.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to talk about legal threshold. I'm not an attorney. If I start sounding like one, go ahead, throw paper airplanes at me if you want. Basically, Pat touched on the law, the Superfund law, again, two arms, kind of the EPA remedy component and then the natural resource damage component. And it's really an interesting law. It allows us to restore, replace, or acquire the equivalent of all the injuries that Pat just talked about. It not only restore the actual injured areas such as groundwater, we can actually get lost services replaced, which is really unique. And I'm going to show about 8 or 9 slides that kind of depict what this slide is. Whoops. One example of restore is what we did in Civil Creek at Ramsey Flats, right near Ramsey there. We took out about 500,000 cubic yards that Remedy wasn't going to take out. We removed those, they all went to the opportunity ponds. This happened about 6, 7 years ago. But it's just an example of what we can do under the law, under restoration. So example here would be, like Pat talked about, we could remove the north side tailings or the parent tailings. That would be equivalent to what we did along Civil Creek. And we used other funds for this along Civil Creek. An example of replacement at Browns Gulch. It's close to Silver Creek. It replaces lost services, and it's very similar to what we lost there. Again, surface water injuries, fisheries. So some of the work we've done on Browns Gulch was riparian fencing and other recreational. Replacement, we've done a water replacement in Butte, and this gets to human services. The service is lost because the groundwater is injured. What these main service course that the groundwater couldn't provide was drinking water. So far we spent about $35 million, again with other funds, not the $28 million, the $28, $30 million call we're talking about here, but with other NRD funds, we spent approximately through grants, Butte Civil Bowl grants, $35 million in replacement of pipes from the Big Hole, Bourbon pipes, enhancing the Big Hole Dam, the Big Hole pump house, things like that. So again, unique law that we can actually do this, replace lost services, not just restore what was injured. Now here's something that we're not about. Hazardous substances are key. The metals that injured the groundwater that Pat showed. That's the key. Here with subsidence, it's a mining impact, but it's not has nothing to do with hazardous substances, nothing to do with metals. So this isn't something that we respond in helping somebody with subsidence in the area. Another key kind of component of all this is remedy and restoration. Remedy, again, is what EPA has been doing, here for the past 2 decades. We want to make sure that remedy, and that's how the law is intended, that remedy does everything it should do before we start spending restoration money. So a good example is along Silver Creek. In the past decade, we spent approximately $95 million on Silver Creek. Restoration funds, approximately $10 million so far. So we made sure remedy was going to go as far as they were going to go to clean up the Silver Creek, and then we went along and did additional work to bring that to a baseline condition. Benefits is key to the money that is granted in this program, and the benefits have to be towards what was injured at the services of those natural resources, and that's key again. Natural resources is what we're talking about. Another example along the Greenway, wetlands we created. Remedy wasn't doing that. We used restoration monies for that. And additional riparian plantings along Civil Creek. One thing unique about Civil Creek that we don't have in Butte, that we also had not only aquatic and groundwater injury, but we also had injury to terrestrial, to wildlife. So we spent monies on wildlife enhancements as well over the past decade. Again, I talked about public water and the many things that have been funded over the years. One thing that's unique here, John talked about not necessarily all this money has to be spent right in that box. Here's a good example here, the Big Hole pipeline is definitely outside the Butte area, but the water that comes from Big Hole services, for drinking water here in Butte. So that's how we're allowed to spend monies all the way down to Big Hole in that service, for drinking water. And I think this is my last slide, recreation, another service, of course, lost along Silver Creek is recreation that we could have had. So we've spent monies to enhance fisheries along Silver Creek. So with that, I think John's gonna, who's gonna talk about this?
John.
I could talk about it.
It's a real quick one. It's just, again, the timeline that we were talking about earlier. The deadline is April 20. This is not the last meeting. Make sure that, if you don't get it to us tonight, you're not out of time. Keep coming back to us. We're going to spend most of the late spring and early summer and fall working through making sure that the plans that did sort of float up to the top, they'll go through legal muster, make sure that, that they pass what we're legally allowed to do. And then, September through December, get this plan out for public comment, get those public comments back in, evaluated as far as the plan, and get that off to the governor. Just interestingly, before the parade, the governor stopped into my place. We chit-chatted for a couple minutes about this, and he is excited. He wants to see this plan on his desk. So we need to do everything we can to get that to him. I think it's a great opportunity. We don't want to miss out on it while we still have it. And again, this is real money. This isn't caught up somewhere. It's not a 10-year plan. We'll start moving dirt tomorrow. Tomorrow, after the governor says we can. But we're ready to go. And so if you've got concepts, please come to us. So again, on your desks, you've got examples of a completed form. What we've got here is we've got obviously all of us here. We're all, a good deal of the members of the committee are here. We have some scientists who've been working with us a lot. Are also here. So as far as like breakout sessions, this is about that point where we want to be able to sit with you, go over any concepts you have, talk to you about where it may or may not work. But there is absolutely nothing about any concepts you have here. I mean, I think Milltown's got enough money, but if you got an idea from Milltown, tell us. But the idea is that we want to hear everything, every idea gets on a piece of paper tonight so that we can evaluate that and get that forward. And with that, that's all we have. I'm going to turn it back over to Pat.
Again, we really want your ideas on these forms. If you haven't thought it through enough to complete it tonight, you can fold that up, tape it, and mail it back to me. If you complete it tonight, there's just a little box right up here on this chair as you go out. Drop your completed form in that box. Please leave the bin, but you can take the cookies. All right, if you have any questions, people here will just be walking around and trying to help you with them.
Yeah, and actually, yeah. Do you have questions? You need to. I've seen it, yeah. All right. The language of how they got that place.
Yeah, it's on the website at the, on the bottom.
I'll send it to you. Okay. Well, here is this.
If you email me, I can send
Notice we
it.
didn't have any pictures of water slides or
Yeah, I'm number 11.
Okay, so the priority is, how much of
None of this money is going to be used yet, and maybe it turns out that using those tails is not feasible. And, that hasn't been determined. It's definitely on the list of what they want to see done. So, this is how I want to be first is restoration. And then these are less important.
what
Yep, and you know, if you go back to that 1955 era, banks that blacktail and Silver Creek were channel big trails that were used tailings. And so all that stuff. Well, and I don't think they ever got very far, because Clark had the zinc mill, timber mill. No. So, yeah.
Okay, so any of this field
Recreationist, yeah, and probably the clearest connection to the surface water is fishing, with certainly trails to access those areas. That was from the big upper part of the whole basin, like 140 and yeah, that's already funded. And they'll usually bring around yeah. About every day. Captain. Oh, Captain. Yeah. Well, we got one. How are you? What's going on, Matt? Oh, yeah. No big deal. My BS is see you, Parker. You bet. Sounds like you got an agenda.
Yeah, she did, for sure.
Tom's thing, he sort of laid out how much per cubic feet. He was saying like $15 a cubic yard with dirt, and then we paid $20. We paid $35 a yard for compost. So, you know, just parking.
You know that
Just stuff from up by the dump, I mean.
Whoops.